My name is Tom, and what I'm about to share with you is not just another heartbreak story. It is the unraveling of everything I believed about love, loyalty, and trust. I wasn't a wealthy man. I wasn't someone who could buy the world, but I gave my wife everything I had, my time, my effort, my soul. For years, we built a life together, not grand or extravagant, but full of moments that felt real. Quiet dinners at home, long walks where we dreamed about the future, nights where laughter filled the walls of our modest house. I thought those things mattered more than money, that love was the glue that held everything together. But life has a brutal way of testing those beliefs. My wife didn't just leave me, she left me for a millionaire, someone who promised her a glittering life I could never compete with. And the cruelest part is that she thought she was stepping into a dream. But dreams built on shallow ground quickly turn into nightmares, and soon she would learn what regret really feels like. The changes began so quietly that at first, I ignored them. She started buying new clothes, dressing up even when she wasn't going anywhere special. She became glued to her phone, her laughter reserved for messages I wasn't part of. When I asked, she brushed me off with excuses about stress, about needing space, about wanting to feel alive. I convinced myself it was nothing, but inside, I already felt the distance growing. I tried harder. I planned trips we couldn't afford, surprised her with flowers, even cooked her favorite meals hoping it would bring us back to the couple we used to be. But nothing worked. It was as if I was pouring love into a bottomless pit, and the more I gave, the emptier she became. Then came the night that confirmed my worst fears. She didn't come home. I sat waiting, staring at the clock, heart racing with denial. When she finally confessed, the truth shattered me. She had fallen for someone else, someone who lived in a world of penthouses, expensive cars, and private jets. A millionaire who could offer her everything I couldn't. I remember the way she looked at me when she told me. Her words cut deep, but it was her eyes that destroyed me. She said she deserved more excitement, more comfort, more of everything that money could buy. She spoke of her new life like it was a fairy tale, as if trading in years of shared love for luxury was logical, even justified. She didn't just leave me, she made me feel small, insignificant, like the life we had built together was a waste of her time. In that moment, I wasn't Tom, her husband, her partner, the man who had stood by her through every storm. I was just an obstacle standing in the way of her desire for something shinier. I had always believed love was priceless, but watching her walk away so easily made me realize how quickly some people can put a price tag on everything. The weeks that followed nearly destroyed me. I sank into a darkness I didn't know how to escape. I questioned everything. Was I not good enough? Was my love meaningless? Did every memory we shared mean nothing? Friends told me to move on. Family reminded me that I deserved better. But none of it mattered when every night I lay in an empty bed, staring at the ceiling, haunted by the thought of her in another man's arms. I tortured myself imagining the life she was living, yachts, champagne, glittering parties, while I sat surrounded by silence and memories. The pain was suffocating, and I wondered if I would ever breathe normally again. For a while, I believed my story was over. I was Tom, the man left behind, the man replaced, the man forgotten. But here's where the twist begins. The life she thought would be her happily ever after was nothing like the fantasy she had imagined. The millionaire she left me for wasn't the charming prince she painted him to be. He was arrogant, controlling, and saw her not as a partner, but as an accessory. At first, she convinced herself it didn't matter. She drowned in luxury, covering her loneliness with designer dresses and exotic trips. But reality doesn't stay hidden forever. Behind the glamorous photos and staged smiles, she was isolated, treated like another trophy in a glass case. And while she played her part in his world of hollow indulgence, I was slowly learning to breathe again. The pain that had nearly killed me was forcing me to rebuild, to discover strength I never knew I had. Piece by piece, I began to put myself back together. I poured my brokenness into my work, into friendships I had neglected, into rediscovering who Tom really was without her shadow. I realized that my worth was never measured by the money in my pocket or the material things I could provide. My value was in my loyalty, my resilience, my ability to stand up again after being shattered. Slowly, the nights didn't feel so heavy, and the mornings carried a new kind of hope. I stopped waiting for her ghost to disappear from my thoughts, and started focusing on the life ahead of me. While she sank deeper into regret, I was rising from the ashes of betrayal, stronger than I had ever been. Then came the day I saw her again. It wasn't the radiant woman who had left me, but a hollow version of her, stripped of the fantasy she had chased. Her eyes were empty, her voice desperate, her smile trembling as she confessed the truth I had already guessed. She regretted everything. She said the life she had chosen was a prison, that the millionaire treated her like nothing, that every night she thought of me and the home we had once built together. She begged me to forgive her, to take her back, to start over. And for a fleeting second, I almost wanted to. Because despite everything, part of me still loved the woman I once knew, the woman who had held my hand through storms before she traded me for glittering lies. But then reality hit me like a wave. I remembered the nights I cried alone, the way she had looked at me as if I was disposable, the emptiness she had left behind without hesitation. I realized that forgiveness didn't mean going back. Forgiveness meant freeing myself completely. I told her no. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with clarity. I wished her healing, I wished her peace, but I would never again be the man she could break so easily. In that moment, I wasn't Tom the abandoned husband anymore. I was Tom, the man who survived, the man who rose, the man who chose himself. Looking back now, I don't see myself as the man whose wife left him for a millionaire. I see myself as the man who walked through fire and came out stronger. Her regret is her burden, not my victory. My victory is the life I built without her, a life filled with authenticity, with resilience, with the understanding that sometimes losing someone is the greatest gift you'll ever receive. Because if she hadn't left, I might never have discovered who I really was. I might never have realized the power of standing alone, the strength of rebuilding, the beauty of moving forward. So if you're listening to my story and you've ever been left behind, betrayed, or replaced, know this: your pain is not the end of your journey, it's the beginning of your transformation. I know the nights feel endless, the emptiness unbearable, but one day, you will look back and realize the heartbreak that tried to destroy you became the foundation for your strength. And when the person who hurt you comes crawling back with regret, remember this: the sweetest revenge is not taking them back or proving them wrong. The sweetest revenge is thriving without them, smiling because you no longer need what once broke you. That is the real victory. That is freedom. And that is the story of me, Tom, the man who lost everything, only to discover he had everything he needed all along. When my wife walked out of my life, I thought I had lost everything. But what I didn't know then was that pain would become the fire that forged a new version of me. In the silence of my empty home, I began to rediscover who Tom really was. I started small, waking up earlier, pushing myself to exercise, reading books I had once ignored. Each small step gave me a sense of control, a sense that I could build something greater out of the ruins she left behind. And slowly, I realized that the end of our marriage wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of the one I was truly meant to live. I poured my energy into my work, refusing to let the heartbreak define me. Long nights turned into long hours of focus, and every project became a way of proving to myself that I could rise again. I stopped chasing approval from someone who had abandoned me and started building a future on my own terms. With every success, no matter how small, I gained confidence. People around me began to notice the change, my determination, my resilience, my drive. And the more I leaned into this new path, the more opportunities seemed to open, as if life had been waiting for me to finally claim my worth. Soon, my career began to flourish in ways I had never imagined. The same man who once felt broken now stood tall, leading projects, inspiring others, and earning respect not because of money, but because of character. I wasn't chasing wealth to fill a void. I was chasing purpose. And purpose has a way of attracting everything else. I started speaking at events, sharing my journey, showing others that failure, betrayal, and heartbreak aren't the end, they're the doorway to transformation. Each time I told my story, I saw hope spark in the eyes of people who had felt just as lost as I once did. The success wasn't only professional. My personal life began to bloom again too. For so long, I had carried the weight of being unwanted, unloved. But as I healed, I learned that love doesn't begin with someone else, it begins within. I learned to treat myself with respect, to set boundaries, to value my own time and heart. And in doing so, I attracted new friendships, deeper connections, and eventually, someone who loved me not for what I could give materially, but for who I truly was. For the first time in years, I felt seen, valued, cherished. And this love was different. It was built on authenticity, not illusions. One of the greatest lessons I learned was that success is not about revenge. It's not about showing the person who hurt you what they lost. True success is living a life so full, so authentic, so powerful, that their absence no longer matters. I stopped measuring my progress against her regret, and started measuring it against my own growth. And what I found was astonishing: peace. Real peace. The kind that doesn't come from money or approval, but from knowing you survived what was meant to break you and turned it into the foundation for greatness. There was a time when I thought seeing her regret would be my greatest reward. But now I know better. My reward was never her apology, never her tears, never her longing to come back. My reward was the man I became in her absence, the man who discovered strength in weakness, who rebuilt with nothing but determination, who rose from the ashes of betrayal into a life filled with meaning. That is the kind of success no one can take away. That is the kind of success that lasts. I often think back to that version of me who sat alone in a dark room, believing life was over. I wish I could tell him, "Hold on. Don't give up. The pain you feel now will become the fire that shapes you." Because everything I've achieved, every milestone, every breakthrough, was born from that season of suffering. Without it, I might still be small, still living a life that didn't reflect my potential. Sometimes, life has to break you in order to rebuild you stronger. And I am living proof of that truth. Today, when people ask me about my story, I don't hide it. I tell them I was betrayed, I was left behind, I was replaced. But I also tell them I survived, I grew, I succeeded. And that contrast is what makes the story powerful. Because it's not just about the pain, it's about the transformation. It's about showing that no matter how deep the wound, healing is possible. No matter how dark the night, morning always comes. And no matter how broken you feel, there is always a way forward. I no longer carry bitterness toward my past. In fact, I'm grateful. Because without that betrayal, I might never have discovered the depth of my resilience, or the height of my potential. I might never have found my voice, my purpose, my peace. And so, what once felt like the greatest loss of my life has become the greatest gift. It gave me freedom. It gave me clarity. It gave me a story that not only inspires me but now inspires others to rise above their pain too. My name is Tom, and I am not the man who was left behind. I am the man who rose, who rebuilt, who transformed. I am proof that even when the world falls apart, you can rise stronger, brighter, and more unstoppable than ever before. And if you're listening to this, I want you to know, you can too. Your story isn't over. The betrayal you've faced, the heartbreak you've endured, is only the beginning of a greater chapter. Just hold on. Because your success, your peace, your transformation, is waiting on the other side of the pain. Life has a way of teaching us lessons through the most painful experiences. Tom's story reminds us that sometimes what we think is the end is actually the beginning of something greater. How many times in our daily lives have we faced rejection, betrayal, or failure and thought, "This is it. I can't recover from this." Maybe it wasn't a spouse walking out, but a job we didn't get, a friend who abandoned us, or a dream that fell apart before our eyes. In those moments, we feel like everything we worked for has been stolen. Yet, just like Tom discovered, those moments are not the end of our story. They are the cracks that allow the light of transformation to shine through. Life's greatest growth often comes from its hardest blows, and it's in those seasons of darkness that we find out how strong we really are. Think about the times you've been underestimated, when someone made you feel small, unworthy, or replaceable. Maybe a boss overlooked your effort, or someone you loved didn't see your value. It hurts deeply. But the truth is, our worth isn't defined by who rejects us, but by how we respond when they do. Tom chose to rebuild, to rise from betrayal instead of letting it define him. And we can do the same. In everyday life, this might mean refusing to let a setback stop us from trying again. It might mean taking the pain of disappointment and turning it into fuel to pursue something even greater. Every closed door is not a rejection of our value. It's often a redirection towards something far better than we imagined. Another powerful lesson from Tom's journey is that true success is not measured by revenge or proving someone wrong. How often do we waste our energy trying to show others our worth instead of living it? Whether in relationships, careers, or friendships, we sometimes believe success means making the people who doubted us regret their choices. But the reality is, real success is quieter, deeper. It's waking up with peace, knowing we no longer need validation from those who hurt us. It's building a life so full and authentic that their absence no longer matters. In our daily lives, this means shifting our focus from what others think to what truly fulfills us. It means realizing that peace, purpose, and growth are the ultimate rewards, not their regret. Tom also shows us that healing begins when we choose ourselves. How many times do we give and give, forgetting that our own well-being matters too? We pour into others, into jobs, into relationships, hoping it will be enough, only to find ourselves empty. Choosing yourself doesn't mean being selfish. It means setting boundaries, respecting your own heart, and recognizing your worth even when others don't. In everyday life, this could mean walking away from toxic environments, saying no when we need to, or taking the time to invest in our own growth. Just like Tom discovered, when we learn to love ourselves first, we naturally attract healthier opportunities, deeper relationships, and greater success. Finally, Tom's story is a reminder that pain has purpose. The moments that feel like they're breaking us are often shaping us into who we were meant to become. Think about your own life. Can you remember a time when what seemed like the worst moment ended up leading to something better? It might have been losing a job that pushed you into your dream career, or facing heartbreak that eventually led you to the right person. Life rarely goes the way we expect, but it always leads us where we need to be. And the beauty is, every trial, every tear, every moment of despair can become the foundation for a greater future. Like Tom, we all have the power to turn pain into growth, betrayal into freedom, and endings into beginnings. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. If Tom's journey and the reflection we shared today touched your heart, I'd love for you to take a moment to support this community we are building together. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the stories and lessons that can inspire your own journey. Leave a comment sharing what part of Tom's story spoke most to you, because your voice matters here. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, someone who feels broken, abandoned, or lost, please share this video with them. You never know how much hope you can give by sharing a story. Together, let's keep spreading inspiration, resilience, and the reminder that no matter how dark life gets, the light always returns.